Hi, ladies and gentlemen. The LPL is a mess and it's getting even messier. They are implementing an auction system for the players with very specific rules in place. I'm going to try my best to explain this post that this LPL Insider U has posted. Very, very helpful person on Twitter in terms of understanding what's going on in the LPL world. Basically, you have this LPL auction system, but first and foremost, the players that are not basically forced to participate in this process are the ones that extended the contract with their original team, meaning like the team that they're on right now, or they are still on the contract. If they played less than 2 best of 3 is in split 3, imports and LDL players. So basically, this is a system that is put in place for players that want to switch teams that played in split 3, unless you are then an import. All these other things like an LDL player or whatever, there it is. I wonder, it isn't clear if a player chooses to not participate in this offseason, if he's not allowed to talk with teams after the fact. I feel like there's a lot of room to, of course, circumvent this if the rule set isn't ironclad and crystal clear. But nevertheless, LPL auction system, you extend the contract with the original contract not ending. Yes, you don't participate in the off season. No, if you didn't play, more than 2 best of 3s and you're an import and LDL, then you don't participate. Then you sign directly with the organization, and then the auction starts. Meaning, like if you are a player that wants to switch teams, like that currently played, let's say any of the Weibo players or any of the JGG players, if you want to switch now. The first phase is that you can ban one organization. I wonder what happens if all players come together and ban the same organization. That would be intriguing, but at least there's that. You can ban one org from this pool, which doesn't seem super impactful. Nevertheless, then the auction starts, which is of course in the currency of in terms of Chinese money, depending on the salary cap. This is determined by your results in the past. 70 to 100% of the salary cap. If a team bids that, then the highest offer forces you then to sign with the organization. If you refuse, you are then banned from participating in the league, I believe, up to 6 months. And you're also fined. So basically, you're in a situation where if you participate in this off-season, then you gotta participate and you gotta play, or you get punished for not doing so, right? If someone won the auction for you, it's so dumb, then you get banned and fined if you choose to refuse. Like, let's say the org or the players that you don't find interest in want to sign you, you get punished for that because you accepted that you're going to participate in this off-season. And if no, you get signed with the organization. If you have multiple of the same offers, you then enter round 2, and then the highest offer wins you, and then sign with the org. And then if there's multiple same offers, basically, you then get to select the organization on your own, out of your own courtesy, and then you get to select the organization that you want to sign with, and then go. And then once again, if you refuse, you get banned and fined. And in this process, there's also like these virtual tokens that have been, attributed to the teams based on their standings, which means that, the higher up you went, the more, let's say, bids you can, participate in, because otherwise you'd have teams just bidding on players left and right, and they would just participate. So you need to be a little bit more tactful about who you choose to, of course, pursue. If it's less than 70% of the salary cap, let's say someone is trying to lowball you, then you have the right to refuse. Free agent, only sign with orgs after contract extension and bidding. So basically, if nobody bids for you, you have a right to, of course, just sign with teams after this whole auction process. And maybe there's a world where they're going to undercut your salary big time or whatever. And there you have it. So you do indeed need to be paid a certain amount of the salary cap. So you got to be paid most likely good sums of money to be in a position to get banned if you refuse. But still, this to me is freaky. Let's distill this in the context of what we are seeing currently in, of course, the LPL. If we just take a look at the teams in the LPL, we look at it for what it is. It's like if you want to go through any forms of rebuilds, now it becomes a lot more costly. It becomes a lot more difficult for anybody that wants to do any form of rebuilds. If you think about it, right, like let's say a big target here is Knight. Knight, of course, controls the entire offseason. All rumors around Viper are around the context of him wanting to play with Knight specifically. Now Knight is in a position where if he wants to go into the bidding process, he needs to leave the comfort of the players that he does know and walk into, of course, a bidding process that might be blind. And let's say there are teams out there that are going to compete to the max, and maybe, this is a way for him to guarantee, max of the salary cap, and then at the end, he's going to be able to choose. That could be the case. Definitely, there's a level to that, but it does come with, of course, a gamble. So you're going to have a situation where teams are quite incentivized to sign again with the same team. There's also going to be, incentives to collude for teams to sign current players that they have and then collude together with teams to say, let's say I extend a player like Light, and then I am going to just loan him to a different team. So let's say like a team like Weibo talk with an IG and they say, yo, we're going to sign Light, and then we can loan him out to you, and then you can just circumvent the whole bidding process and the auction process, so you can undermine, the other teams looking to go for you. I guess there's a world where, if you have these players that are very, very high value, that they're going to go up to 100%, because that's the only way some teams are going to be able to, of course, guarantee them, which is interesting. But still, this to me, I feel like it's so open to exploitation. So I don't know what's going to come of this. I feel like it's very, very strange, and I don't think it is going to help the LPL competitively, because the big problem for the LPL is that the talent is just kind of distributed in a very, very strange way. But if you're in a position like AL and you want to keep the majority of your roster, it becomes a lot easier to do so in my mind. And these other teams like a Top Esports, or like, let's say, someone like Gala, like there's a world where like there's a big bidding process for Gala, and maybe he ends up on a team that he doesn't belong if he wants to test, the open market, which of course is very, very spooky. And I think we're going to see a lot of situations where teams kind of re-sign, like let's say a player like Zika signs, they extend him on LNG and then they loan him out to a different team. Like that's something that could happen, right? So he doesn't get pushed into the pool. And maybe like that, this is a way for him to get a bigger salary or something like this. I'm not so sure. In the end, the salary caps are still in place, but maybe there is a world for teams to circumvent the whole bidding process, which makes it, let's say, more comfortable for them to be in this off-season. And for those who don't know, right, I think, if we want to talk about some LPL rumors, the main outlier is the fact that Knight is the one who has kind of dictated everything. Knight has dominated the LPL for as long as we remember, and I think that he gets to decide who he plays with pretty much. And in a world where Viper, the rumor is that they are most likely, re-signing everybody on HLE with the addition of Kanavi. That to me means that everything is going to fall into place. I think that T1 is going to re-sign all of their players, meaning that they're going to retain the same roster. And then I think that with Kanavi potentially moving to HLE, I think there's a big chance that Bilibili is just going to continue in the same fashion, but they're going to look to add, of course, Shun from JDG. It seems like the rumor is that the only way Shun is going to go back to Bilibili is if Knight plays there, and then maybe we have a world where Bilibili is just going to go back to the OG roster with Shun, On, Elk, Knight, and then, of course, Bin. I'm intrigued to see what happens to Gala. I do think that I will be very happy if he can stay with Rookie and the Shy, but I do think that Gala is one of those players that could be a potential upgrade for some teams. Like if we saw, for example, Gala take the place of Elk, I feel like that shakes things up in a healthy way that could be interesting. Or let's say if On gets replaced by one of the young and up and coming guys, I feel like that's a shakeup that could be interesting. But at the same time, You know, it's weird because these changes that I'm proposing in the context of Bilibili are just changes for the sake of changes. I do think still, if Shun rejoins this team, that Bilibili, the roster should be so damn insane. But there's definitely something poisoned about, you know, the let's say environment from, you know, just watching them this entire year. And I don't know if Shun, you know, that smile, that Shun smile is amazing, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to, of course, you know, break down all of that bad luggage and bad juju that they built up over the year. But we'll see. We'll see. Um, Anyhow, I do think I'm not a big fan of the system. Let me know what you guys think. In my mind, I think that this will prevent. This just adds additional preventions from like teams accurately building teams, because in my mind the biggest issue of the LPL is the GMing that bleeds into the coaching, and that bleeds into, of course, the seriousness of the players. Because I do think that the talent is there. I just think it's distributed very, very poorly across the LPL. So there you have it, guys. I hope this made sense. The explanation made sense. I tried to add details where there were some. I hope you know, we have more and more clarity. Keep in mind this first part of the bidding process is sealed, meaning that it's not something that will be public and will not be shown. So there's that. Yeah, there's that. And I do believe a couple of these LPL orgs are also leaving. So just to point that out, that LPL is going to you know, have less teams coming into the next year. Anyhow, that's it. Thank you.